And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
I am most definitely a fan of good theming, and I really like the theming of Revolver. It's a Wild West theme. Basically, one side is a bunch of bank robbers. They just robbed the bank and now they're trying to get away. And the other person is the sheriff coming in to take them down. The bounty hunter is coming to take out the gang. And they're going to take out the gang. It's a two-player card game, and it has some great artwork. Even though the front of the box, the guy does look a bit like he's yawning. Comes in a nice tin like this. Some pretty neat stuff. Let's check it out and see what we think. Here's the board, which is essentially a bunch of cards. And here's where the robbery happens at Repentance Springs Banks and goes all the way down here to the 315 Express from Rattlesnake Station. And each turn of the game, you're going to be moving this token along these numbered things on each path. Now, all these cards are in front of you. This is the gang, led by Jack the Crow Colty, and it's full of all sorts of people. No, I don't know if it's your typical gang, but it has the yawner. But anyway, this is all in front of you, and these people here are basically to be killed. In fact, I would be absolutely stunned if everyone all the way over to the number 3s are killed. Now, each of these characters has a number on. For example, let's look at Lenny the Pig Mason. If you notice, he has a 0 up there in the top, while Bruno Henhouse has a 3 in the top corner. Now, what do those numbers mean? Well, basically, they mean this. When one of these guys is killed, and that's going to happen often during the game, you have to pick one of the lowest numbers. That's why I have them separated in the columns. So one of these guys dies first, another one, another one, another one, another one. The doggos, how sadness. And then you start killing off the ones, etc. Sometimes when you kill someone, for example, when Poppy McGreedy is killed, then you can see the symbol there. That means lose a card also. So she actually causes some negative effects. Now, over here, you'll notice this card here has 12 tokens on. This is the Mexican border. This is one of the ways that Jack the Crow can win. If enough of these tokens are taken off this card, then the gang has escaped to the Mexican border, and then they win. Otherwise, we got to move this token all the way down here across to the train. Now, each of the 2 players gets their own deck of cards. The bad guys have their deck, which says "Wanted, Dead or Alive" on the back of it. And the good guys, it looks the same thing, except it doesn't say "Wanted." So once again, let me remind you, the victory conditions are the gang has to either go to the Mexican border or get to the station. The good guys have to basically kill off all these people. We're going to move these guys out of the way here for a moment, and we're going to concentrate up here on the station. Each player is going to start with a handful of 5 cards. And each turn, they are going to draw 2 cards, and then they can play as many cards as you want, but realizing you're only going to draw 2 each turn. On the Colty player's team's turn, he's going to move this time thing 1 forward. Now you'll notice that there's some time markers here that don't have numbers on them. Those are usually not counted, but there are cards that can be played which will basically move it back and forth in different directions. And so of course the outlaws are going to want to make the time go faster, while the good guys are going to make it go longer. Here's an example card. You can see -1 on this battlefield. So that lets me move it even faster, and I'm trying to do that. Whichever card the token is on is the current battlefield. And so much of the time, each player is going to be playing cards from their hand that show poker chips on them, and that shows the strength of your side on the battlefield. Now, the bad guys have a limit of 3 cards per side. The good guys have no such limit, and they can place as many cards on their side as they want to. Now, realize as the game has progressed, there's a lot of cards like this Deputy, which you simply just play. But there are some cards like Quincy the Spider Whitmore, which cost a card to play. Some of these cards have a little hat on them too, and that hat is on certain cards, and when that happens, you'll put a token on that card to show that that person has an extra life. It can even happen with some of the bad guys, which means they take 2 hits to kill them. Now, on your turn you play as many cards. Most of the cards you're going to be putting out there, although other cards can do different things. Since the bad guys are limited to 3 different cards, the good guys can play a card which will block one of the rows. The good guys can play a card which will just simply outright kill one of the bad guys in the gang, or this ambush which kills 2 of them. And they have all sorts of cards. The best one, of course, here is Colonel Ned McGreedy. He costs 3 cards to discard and play him. He takes 2, and as soon as he comes out, he kills one of the bad guys. And so you have to be really careful when you get that gentleman in your deck. Although the bad guys also have powerful people, like the Jackson clan. And they're free if they're played on this last one on the 315 Express. Here, the bad guys can prevent a kill. They have different ones. A lot of their cards let them kill. It shows a star, and that means they can simply kill a card off from the opponent's side. The symbols are pretty simple and easy to understand, but the book does come on the back of it, which shows you all the different symbols and what they do. So basically, turn goes like this. On the bad guy's turn, he moves it forward, draws 2 cards, plays some cards. The good guy does not move the marker forward, plays some cards. Then on the good guy's turn, he will compare all his poker chips to the poker chips on the bad guy's side, and whoever has a higher amount of poker chips on their side, if the good guy has a higher amount on his side, then he kills off one of the bandits. If he does not kill off one of the bandits, which will happen most of the time, then the bandits can take off one of these markers. So the bandits are going to be killed pretty quickly. And when the bandits' leader is killed, then the game is over for the good guys, and yay, they've won. Now, there's a couple other things that can happen. For example, the bad guys can derail the train, which basically kills everybody on the board, everyone, and they can discard 1 card and save 1 person for each card that they discard. But still, it's kind of like a last-minute nuclear bomb option. In fact, I heard this game was originally based on the Aliens movies, but was rethemed to a Western theme. So that's basically it. Like I said, there's some extra counters that will be used over the course of the game. And the cards as players go, and it really has a Western theme to it. Now, I bet you're expecting that after all that, I really love this game. And when I first played it, it is entertaining. The card play back and forth. You know, you can get into the Western twang as you play all the different cards. The artwork is neat. The names are fun. It has a strong Western flavor to it. The 2 sides are very different on how to play. But I don't like it. And the reason I don't like it is simply just the fact that as interesting as the gameplay is, and as interesting as all of it goes back and forth, I just cannot shake the feeling that the game is playing me rather than I'm playing the game. First time I played and the bad guys were wiped out, and I said, wow, this game is really hard for the outlaw gang. I mean, really hard. The good guys are killing people right off and left to right. They have at least 6 cards where they can just kill someone outright. You have 1 or 2 cards at the most that you can stop that from happening. They can play as many people on their side. It seems like their cards are better. So I went through the decks and compared them and played some more games, and they're not that much better. The Outlaws have a lot of powerful cards too, if played at the right time, and they have time on their side. The problem is, you won't draw every card in the deck during the course of this game. So you can save cards, not play all of them and hope to get to a better battleground. In fact, I didn't mention that some of the battlegrounds have a plus modifiers for the Outlaws. And so you can try to gauge things in that regard. But still, if you simply draw a better combination of cards than your opponent, you will win. And you say, well, Tom, come on now, that's the basis of Magic the Gathering, that's the basis of lots of different games, and I understand that, but I'm stuck with these pre-generated decks, and I can see people enjoying this. But, like I said, I just could not shake that feeling that, oh, I drew these cards, well, I guess I'm out of it, there's nothing much I can do here, or I drew these cards, you're toast, and there's nothing you can do about it. That may not bother a lot of people. In fact, everyone I've played it with has really enjoyed it. And maybe I'm looking at this game too deep. Maybe it's a lighter game than what I'm saying here, but that's just my take on it. However, does it encompass the Western theme and flavor? Definitely. Is it a good 2-player game? I think not. but it's still fun. So, I don't know. Take that as it will. I'm not going to hang on to my copy, but I'm sure that many people in my gaming group are going to enjoy that fact.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.
Yeah?